Hello, and welcome back to the Untypical Podcaster. So, if you've been part of and watching these in sequence, you know we would have been talking about where to start with your podcast. So, these are all the things that you need to get in place before you start. Now, did I do any of these? No, of course I didn't. But hopefully, this will help you. But I didn't know I needed to do these. Nobody told me when I was starting up my podcast, where did I need to start? So think about these things before you start. But if you're like me and you like to learn on the go, just go for it and you can watch these in hindsight, then make some changes. So we started off with where do you start? What are you going to talk about? Then we went on to talk about what is the name of your podcast? How are you going to name it? And what things do you need to think about when you name it? Then we talked about how often make that podcast not only fit your listeners, but fit you too. Because if you don't, you burn out, your podcast is going to burn out and you're going to burn out. So make it fit how often you deliver it, what money you've got behind it, all that kind of stuff, what time you've got available, what time you want to give to it. Make sure it fits you too. It's so, so important, that bit. This next bit is to think about knowing your why. Now, many podcasters will tell you, if you're coming into podcasting to make money, think again. So unless you hit the stratospheres that some of the huge podcasters do, making money can be tricky. Now, I'm not saying you can't make money out of me having a podcast, but I think if that's the sole reason that you set up your podcast is to purely make money, people are going to see through you. People are going to know this is all about you selling, about you trying to make money, whatever. And I think people listen to podcasts because they want the connection. They want the real person. They want to feel like they know that person at the end of the podcast. And when it feels like it's about money, it can kind of feel a bit gross and a bit icky and a bit grubby, is my opinion. Now, you'll have lots of people out there. And if money is your sole driver for your podcast, and probably not your channel. So before you come at me in the comments, that's okay. If your podcast is purely about making money, go find people that is just about making money. But if your podcast is about making connections with people, being able to talk about the things that you love, then stay here. I've got something to tell you. So it's knowing your why. Why are you making your podcast? What is it for? Some people, as I say, will think it's about money. If you think you're going to make money really quick out of a podcast, think again. You are not. It takes time. It really does take time to build your followers and then thinking about how you're going to make that money. And some people go on to make money with sponsors, and that's how they do it. And that works. That can be a really good income or can support with the podcast, especially when you're thinking, we're talking early days. I'm not talking to people here that have got well-established podcasts, that have got thousands of listeners. I'm talking to you, those people that want to start a podcast. You're in your early days. You've never even done a podcast. Maybe you're like me and you've never even listened to a podcast when you set off. You're not going to be coming with thousands of followers. So what do you do in the meantime? Now, I was really lucky. When I set my podcast up, I hadn't even thought about sponsorship. And somebody reached out to me on the second episode and said, can I sponsor the podcast? And that was brilliant. I was really lucky to get that. And they stayed with me for a period of time until things, it was time for them to do other things. And that was absolutely fine. We're still friends. They've been on the podcast still since then. Not a problem. And what it did do was give me enough money during the month to be able to pay off things like the hosting of sites where I was hosting the podcast. It was helping me buy bits of equipment so I could actually give back my poor son his microphone and buy myself a microphone. It gave me bits and pieces like that. It didn't pay for my time because the hours that goes into a podcast, it didn't pay for my time. But as you get bigger, you can go out and look for bigger sponsorships. But when you're starting off small with your stats that's small, you're not going to make any money. And knowing your why is really important because that's what's going to keep you going. And it can be really hard in the beginning when you've got low numbers and hardly anyone's listening. It can feel really, really hard. And even a bit like these recordings that I'm doing at the moment. At the moment, I've just checked. I've now got 2 subscribers. So at the moment, feels like I'm talking to a bit of a void. But you know what? I know I've got 2 subscribers. And it might go out to more people, and it'll be here for later when other people have joined and they go back. And I listened to somebody talk, and I can't remember their name. If I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes. And they did a talk on Podmatch. Again, I'll put the link for Podmatch. Then I'm not an affiliate. I'll put the links in there though anyway. Is that I listened to this guy talk, Dave somebody. I'm going to find it. And he was talking about actually not getting caught up in the metrics. And actually, if you've reached one person that day, how amazing is that? If you've reached one person that week, how amazing is that? And that really made a difference for me. Is when I stopped chasing the stats, when I stopped chasing followers and numbers and figures and download. And it's important to know that stuff. But ultimately, I was getting to share things with people that I wanted to be able to share. And when they were interested, they followed. And it's bigger and it's got bigger and it's grown. But it started off as tiny, really, really tiny. And it took a while for things to start to grow. And I'm still not massive. I'm a very niche podcast. I know that. But I also know that I serve a population that I was aiming to get to, which was parents in neurodivergent families that were feeling isolated, cut off from things and on their own. And I know that my podcast gets out to, I think, we're heading now into the thousands, which is amazing. And for me, that's made the difference. But what is really important in your podcast is knowing why you are doing it. And if, as I say, you're doing it for the money and it's a way of you making money, that is okay. Probably don't follow me, but that is okay. And I'd love to get to a point where my podcast is earning me enough money that that's what I can do is just podcast. I love podcasting. But at the moment, it's a passion and it's on the side. And I think when you start there, when you're starting your podcast, you've got to start with the passion, not the aim for money. Because if you're going to get the money, it's usually a long way down the line. There are different ways of earning money off your podcasts. And, we can think about that as we go along. And I'll probably get other people in to talk about that are way more knowledgeable than I am. But it's not easy, would be my thing for you to remember. And if you're coming into this to make money, I'd think again. So spend some time on this. Spend some time on thinking, okay, what is my why? Why do I want to do a podcast? And be honest. Be really, really honest. Get your spider diagram, whatever it is. I'm a spider diagram girl. I also like my flip chart paper, hence I've got my flip chart here. I do spider diagrams, and I get out of my head and with no judgment, why do you want to do your podcast? What is it for? What message are you trying to get out? Is it just to find other people that have got a similar interest in you? Actually, you just want to share something that you love. And that makes a great podcast too. Is it that you want to make people feel less alone? Is it that you want to be an expert in some part of your job that you do and you just want to share that information? Don't start with the money. Don't start with it being that. It's got to be your passion. Anyway, enough from me. I'm going to leave you with that one, and there'll be more to come. So keep tuned in, like and subscribe, and then you'll be kept in the loop for the next one when it drops. I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye.